Welcome to 5 and 5 from the One Stop Co-op Shop, where we discuss 5 key elements of a game in about 5 minutes. I'm Michael Kelly, and today I'm looking at Slide Quest from Blue Orange Games. Quick disclaimer that I was sent a review copy of this game. Slide Quest is a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players. It calls to mind old games like Labyrinth, the wooden one, where you would move the little handles to navigate a metal ball bearing through a bunch of traps. In this case, the players divide a set of 4 paddles between them facing the 4 cardinal directions, and they try to work together to get a knight past a bunch of pits and push enemies into them and get through a total of 20 stages to win the game entirely. But is Slide Quest fun, or is it just a dull exercise in dexterity frustration? Let's find out and get to the list. My number 5 is a pro and an unusual one because I don't usually talk about this, but this is such a simple game I was kind of fighting to get 5 points, and that's the components in the game. Everything here is really lovely and well made. You put the paddles underneath a plastic board with a bunch of trap holes on it, and you then slide in little cardboard stages, 20 in total. Each of them is attractively illustrated, gives you clear indications of where you place terrain and enemies. And speaking of the terrain, I love the 3D elements here. You have little rocks and fences and gates that not only look great, but play a pretty major role in your movement, as they can block you up or save you from falling in a pit. My number 4 is also a pro, one of the varied activities you'll engage in the game, and that's pushing other elements around the board. Many of the stages will ask you to push guards or villains into pits, or even push dynamite sticks out of your way without knocking them down. And while I've played a lot of these dexterity games where you try to navigate something through a maze, this is the first one I've played where you have to knock other things around, and just the pure satisfaction of getting that guard into the pit and then carefully avoiding falling in yourself. It's a lot of good fun. We have another pro at number 3, that's 3 in a row, and that's the gameplay challenges and options you can put against yourself. First, the game has 2 modes you can play. One where you play through a set of 5 stages, and another one where you play through everything, all 20 in a row, kind of like a gauntlet of endurance. But on top of that, the free Blue Orange app lets you do different difficulty levels with timing, which forces you to complete stages in a minute or 30 seconds or even 20 or 15. And this gives you a ton of control on how tense you want the game to be, how much you want to practice certain stages, and it can ratchet it up to ridiculous excitement where you have to just move way more quickly and less carefully than you ever have before, trying to perfectly navigate the maze. But that goes right into my number 2, a big con, and that's how repetitive the play can be. Besides a few extra bells and whistles, you have basically 2 kinds of stages here. One where you have to navigate along the path of light, and another one where you have to push enemies into pits. And yes, they try to change those up with tougher paths or more obstacles in your way or more frequent pits, and that works pretty well. But in the end, you are doing the exact same thing over and over again. And what differentiates one stage with a light path from another stage with a light path isn't always that obvious apart from the beautiful art. And we're going to finally end on a mix, one that does 10 pro for me, and that's the core activity of the game itself, actually moving the paddles to slide the board and manipulate the knight. On the positive side, the pure tension and wackiness of moving your paddles to angle the board to get the knight into the exact right position, but not go too far and quickly correct with the opposite direction, it's just pure fun and great dexterity play. But on the negative side of that, that can lead to some frustrations with each other, some fights, some shouting matches, because someone didn't save the knight in the right way or moved the opposite of what you wanted. And also, the biggest potential negative here, the thing that could be frustrating, is that sometimes the board kind of gets stuck up in one direction or another, and not in a way that you can't fix, but you have to adjust for it. Like, you'll think that you're only moving this way, but the board will kind of be still leaning the other way, and you'll keep on sliding that way, and you'll have to counter correct. And again, you can get frustrated because you're blaming the person on that side, but it's not really their fault because the other person has to compensate and get the board to kind of slide back. Overall, I've had a ton of fun with Slide Quest, not just playing with my family, my wife, and my kids, although I've done that and they love it, but honestly, just playing solo can be a lot of goofy fun, especially with the challenges and the timer. The sheer insanity of trying to keep this little knight from not falling in pits as the time ticks down and you're pushing some guy ahead of you and you're trying not to knock over the dynamite, you're trying to collect hearts to keep yourself alive, it's just a lot of good fun. But that said, let's face it, this is a really straightforward, casual, somewhat repetitive game. If you're at all looking for something serious here, or you think you'll only play solo, or you don't think your other gamers will want to join in because it seems like too silly of an activity, then this one might not be for you. But for me, with my kids and my wife both enjoying it, I'm going to play a heck of a lot of Slide Quest in the future. Good gaming, everyone, and I'll see you at the next stop.